Good day traders, this is Stefanos on behalf of Tixee, and in today's webinar we'll be giving an outlook of the market for the week of the 10th until the 14th of October. Looking at some of the highlights for next week, in the stocks front, Goldman Sachs both rating and price were upgraded by another brokerage firm. On the Forex front, we'll have inflation data from some of the world's largest economies such as the UK, the US and China, as well as the FOMC meeting minutes. But first, a disclaimer, as always, please note that all of the ideas discussed in the webinar are my own opinions and do not make up for any form of investment, trading advice, neither any recommendations to buy or sell. You should always do your own research and due diligence before buying or selling any securities, financial products or instruments, and whether you use any kind of trading strategies. And information that relates to past performance is not indicative of future results. So looking at stocks, first things first, as we mentioned, we had Goldman Sachs shares being upgraded, both the rating and the price as well. Now the upgrades came in from the brokerage firm Keefe Bruyette, which upgraded the rating from market perform to outperform, and they also issued, like we said, the price upgrade, which was from 395 to 429. And I'm pulling up the chart just right now in front of us. You can see that Goldman Sachs shares are trading at the $300 mark. So if I zoom out, we'll be able to see the 395 is up here. And if I zoom out even further, you'll see that the higher target for from Keefe Bruyette is actually an all-time high for Goldman Sachs, because the all-time high is around the 427 region. And like we said, they gave the 429 one as the upper target. Therefore, I think Goldman Sachs could be a stock worth to keep on watch with the open on Monday. This could also spill over to other banking stocks such as Citigroup and JP Morgan, for example, which is something that we call sector sympathy. We also saw this in action last week when we had AMD, which issued a warning with regards to its revenues dropping by potentially $1 billion due to a slump in PC sales. And now this also affected other stocks within the same sector, which is the semiconductor sector. So we had shares such as Nvidia dropping by 5%, and also shares like Intel Corporation dropping by 4%. So yeah, like I said, Goldman Sachs could be a stock worthwhile watching with the open next week, as well as some other stocks that are within the same sector. Now, moving on to Forex, I'm going to be looking at the economic calendar. As we mentioned during the intro, I will be having inflation data from the US, the UK, and China. And we'll also have the FOMC meeting minutes on Wednesday, where we're likely going to be getting further hints with regards to the rate hike cycle in the US. As for the economic calendar itself, you can very easily find it by navigating to the home page of Tixee. All you need to do is just click on the logo in the top left. You can then navigate to the News and Analysis tab, and then you can click on to the economic calendar. Here, you're going to be getting a bunch of filters that you can use from in order to readjust the data. For the sake of this video, we're going to set it to next week and switch onto the high impact events. Do make a note of the time zone here, because it's directly going to correlate with the timings that you can see on the left right here. So kicking things off with Monday, we're going to be having production data from Norway, followed by inflation data from the Nordics. So it's going to be Norway and Denmark, and we're going to be getting unemployment data from Turkey and Czech Republic, and then finishing the day off with another high impact event, which is again going to be inflation data, this time from Greece. Now moving on to Tuesday, we're kicking things off with three consumer confidence figures from Australia, and then getting the first high impact events of the week from the UK, which is going to be employment data. This is going to be released at 7 a.m. UK time. And then we're going to get three inflation readings in a row, one from Hungary, one from the Czech Republic, and then lastly one from Brazil. And next, moving on to Wednesday. So we have the GDP figure from the UK, followed by inflation data from India, production figures from the US, and then coming to the important event that we mentioned, one of the important events that we mentioned, which is going to be the FOMC meeting minutes from the US. Again, something that's worthwhile watching because it's not just going to be impacting the Forex market, but it's likely going to be impacting the equity market and the commodity market, and even more markets as well. It's something that we saw last week with the NFP report, how it spilled over into oil prices and gold as well as an example. Cryptocurrency market is also another likely market that's going to be impacted by this kind of news. Then moving on to Thursday, going to be having production data from Japan in the early morning hours, followed by 3 inflation readings, 1 from Sweden, 1 from Ireland, and then coming to probably the more important one, which is the one from the US, which is again the one that we mentioned during the intro as well. We can see from the estimates as well that the inflation rates year over year for September is likely, the estimate is for it to decrease by 0.1%. And also the core inflation reading month over month for September again, which is again estimated to decrease by 0.1%. And again, we're going to be getting this data at 1:30, and it's all going to be released at the same time, which is going to be 1:30 UK time. And then lastly, moving on to Friday, kicking things off with unemployment data from Korea, which is then going to be followed by the other key inflation figure we're going to be getting, which is from China. And it's also going to have production data being released at the same time. And 1.5 hours later, we're also going to get the trade balance figure again from China. Then towards the regular EU session, we're going to have inflation data from Finland this time. And then we'll be finishing the day and the week off now with retail sales figures and consumer sentiment data from the US. Now, since we're on the economic calendar, if you're more into trading commodities, you can switch this onto the medium impact events. And you can also find the oil inventory report. For this week, it's going to be, Thursday. So it's going to be released on Thursday. Which is going to be the day after we get, if you remember, the release for the FOMC meeting minutes report. So as you can see, you can just play around with the filters. You can switch them from medium, low, high, and see which kind of events interest you the most. And you can pretty much pick the timings that you want to be in front of the screen if you want to trade directly that kind of event, or if you just want to have an idea of the kind of events we're going to be having over the course of the week. And lastly, now we'll be moving on to cryptos. Now, like we said, we'll have the FOMC meeting minutes coming out on Wednesday. So like we said, that's not just going to impact the FX markets. We're likely going to see the report impacting other markets. One of them, which is going to probably be included, is also going to be the cryptocurrency market. Now, it's not the only kind of news it had. I mean, looking at the chart itself, we can see it hasn't really made any significant movements over the past 3 consecutive weeks. I'll just pull up the exponential moving averages. We can see they've pretty much been in bearish movements since the beginning of the year, essentially. And we'll have the direction of the crossover itself hasn't really switched to the bullish side ever since. We also had some further negative news over the course of last week, which was news of Binance being hacked, where hackers were able to steal around $570 million in tokens from Binance, which is something that's not going to be reinforcing confidence in the cryptocurrency market, seeing as how these kind of hacks are becoming more and more frequent. Now, like we said, prices haven't really made any significant movements. Of course, this is on the weekly time frame. If I switch this onto Friday, onto the daily, and just looking at Friday, we can see that prices dropped close to 2% or $400. So this could have been the reaction to those news. But as more and more traders get hold of those news, we could see some further downside, not just on Bitcoin, but on other cryptocurrencies as well. Something that we called earlier on sector sympathy. Now, yeah. So this wraps up the outlook for next week's markets. I hope you enjoyed the video and you found it useful, and I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, trade safe.